I'm just wondering how optimistic you are that at some point the aims of this action will be achieved and we'll get the meeting that Dale and that Chris Packham have asked for.
The thing, I think what's buoyed us up a little bit was the experience with the Trudy Warner campaign. So some people, Trudy was the retired social worker who held up a placard outside in a London Crown Court saying juries have the right to acquit on their conscience, which they do. It's a constitutional principle we've had since 1670. And she was arrested. She was taken to the court cells. She was prosecuted by the Solicitor General for contempt of court. We had a gentle campaign around that where hundreds of other people around the country replicated her action. And it made it really impossible, ultimately, politically in every other way, to prosecute all those people for holding up a sign with the law on it. And eventually the High Court said, well, this is wrong. This is completely disproportionate in a democracy. And one thing the new government has done is they have dropped the appeal against that. And so the lesson for us a little bit from that campaign was trying to find this sweet spot. And I think the numbers around this are going to swell. And then neighbours on my street who I've never really spoken to before, who said, wow, those sentences, those 4 or 5 years, that is so wrong. What can I do? I said, well, join us on the street. And they go, okay. That sense of things just swelling a little bit that I haven't had since 2019, since April 2019. I think that's reasons to be a bit encouraged here. And the other reason to be encouraged is whenever you do tell people what's happening without too much comment, without trying to, just saying this is what has happened. When people get that information, they are shocked. They don't want to live in a place like that. So I think as long as we can get the information out there, I feel a little bit confident, actually. Despite everything.
Can I just say as well that we're back in Parliament. The new session after the conference season starts on October the 7th. So I'll be liaising with other members of Parliament to see how we can intervene in Parliament to try and pressurise the government to accede to the meeting with the Attorney General. And I actually do think there'll be a number of MPs who would be supporting that. You've already seen people like Clive Lewis and others turn up on demonstrations and speak very clearly about how concerned they are about what's been happening. And as I say, it's such a relatively mild demand simply to have that open debate and open discussion. I'm hoping that we can get some agreement to that. And obviously what we'll be trying to do is work on a cross-party basis to do that, to maximise the pressure on the Attorney General to meet.
Can I ask you a question, John?
Mm.
What do you have any sense in the new government that there is an awareness of this very heavy-handed and draconian sort of culture now in the legal system, in the courts? And if so, do you sense any energy, engaged in moving towards combating that, and also in the removal of Lord Walney from his position, who was, after all, appointed under a Tory government? So why is he still there? And
on the general atmosphere, it's difficult to tell when you've got a government that's only been in place about 8 weeks, and when you've got over 200 new members of Parliament as well. So it's difficult to get that feel. And obviously there's some pretty crushing priorities that they're facing at the moment, economically and financially. So you can see where their head space is at the moment. That will settle down, and what we've got to try and do is in these coming weeks, as government settles down, the new Parliament settles down, we've got to get this onto the agenda. The select committees, the chairs have just been elected. They're distributed on a cross-party basis, but the committees themselves won't be formed for another month, the individual members of that, and that'll be a focus for us as well, getting select committee members raising questions around this. One ambition could be, apart from seeking the debate and discussion with the Attorney General is to see whether or not we can get one of the select committees, whether just the select committee or whatever, to actually launch some inquiry into the situation as it now is. And again, that if we could mobilise sufficient support, these select committees, although appointed on a party basis, they're cross-party, and often you'll find the select committee themselves will work independently. So again, that's another focus to try and encourage that debate. The issue for me is the more you tell people about what's going on, the more shocked they are that they weren't aware, and that's at every level. So I'm hoping if we can create a climate of opinion that will enable a relatively objective debate, I think people will, it's almost like coming to their senses about what's happening.
Yeah.